Morning, ladies and gents. How are you doing? A hilarious headline to open with today. I'm sure you've heard Oslo was rocked by an explosion yesterday, and Bloomberg's asking a very strange question. Norwegian police are investigating whether an explosion outside the US Embassy in Oslo is linked to the war in the Middle East. Yeah, because, things used to explode in Oslo all the time before things from the Middle East started moving to Norway, didn't they? Imagine how annoying it must be being Norwegian. You grew up in a paradise where everything was paid for because you won the lottery of life and you had a tiny population and loads of oil reserves and plenty of cash saved up by all of your hard-working ancestors. And then all of a sudden, things change when your government starts letting in hundreds of thousands of hairy-ass men from the Middle East and Africa. And then suddenly people are blowing up embassies. And all of a sudden, your little piece of paradise is not looking quite so happy now, is it? But on the plus side, there's a few more Indian restaurants. Totally worth it. Right, obviously, I'm going to talk you through this story at one point, but I have to do a little segue to something that Shabzy Mahmood dropped on us yesterday. I know I told you shouldn't address these things. It's just bollocks. It's a distraction. They know what they're saying is not true, and they just say it to drive you mad anyway. I know I told you to ignore it and tap the sign. You remember the sign, don't you? That one? Yeah, you've all seen the sign. Laminate it and put it on your fridge door, because that elegantly sums up 9 out of 10 arguments the left badly make in this day and age. They are completely off their tits. And Shabana Mahmood, Shabana Mahmood.
Some of it was fun.
You deserve that, Shabana. It's no different in this instance. Miss Mahmood declares herself English, igniting an identity debate. In a Sky News interview, she described Englishness as a national identity open to those settled in England. And that's that. Easy. As I said in my own post there, change that to a different name, like Dave Smith, and change it to a different ethnicity. Example, Dave Smith declares himself Chinese, and see if it works. Yeah, if it doesn't, because it's demonstrably ridiculous and backwards, and anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together knows it makes no sense at all, well then congratulations. You are not a brain-dead left-wing spastic, and you can get on with your day. As I've said many times, Shabana, you are not fit to work as a cleaning lady. This is what happens when your parents are closely related and have almost identical DNA. They squirt out little weird, slothy little slug things who look like they draw their eyebrows on with a frozen dog shit whilst wearing boxing gloves. So sorry, Shabs, you're punching well above your weight. You've crawled up the greasy pole because of DEI, and you shouldn't be sitting in the lofty position you are. In fact, as I've said, I think it's time to break Colonel Runciman out. You are just about fit enough to work in a bar, so Shabana, fetch me a beverage.
Some more wine, you brown-skinned slut.
Thank you, Colonel Runciman. I love that. I'll never get tired of pressing it. Now back to the story at hand. Norway probes US Embassy blast link to conflict in the Middle East. We all know where this is going, but let's read it anyway out of morbid curiosity. Despite asking the pointless, redundant question that they want to know if it's possibly linked maybe to the war in the Middle East, they do indeed see this as a targeted attack. Those are the words of Frode Larsen, head of the police investigations, and he told reporters on Sunday after an explosive was thrown at one of the entrances of the US Embassy in the early hours. Police believe it's natural to see the incident in relation to the Iran war, which began last Saturday, but they're also considering other theories. What's the other theory? What's the other theory? A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white fella called Sven was out, practicing speed skating, and then his iPhone beeped, and he checked it, and, he found out the United States beat Canada in the ice hockey, and said, I'm an avid fan of ice hockey. That's why I like skating so much. And my favourite team's just lost to the Americans. Oh, I know, I'll go and blow their embassy up then. Yeah, middle-class people do that a lot. They love blowing things up. That's why Oslo was full of grenade attacks and explosions and stabbings and gunfights. In 1970, when it was 99.9% ethnically homogenous. Norway used to explode all the time in the 1970s, didn't it? No, it didn't. It only started exploding regularly when they imported people that explode regularly, because some of them, I know this is controversial to say, but some of them read a very, very old book of desert scribblings that tells them that the most glorious thing to do in the world is to blow yourself up whilst murdering people who don't read your very, very ancient book of desert scribblings, largely plagiarized from the Bible and the Torah. And this causes them to wish to blow themselves up. So there is a correlation there. Or what? Did you think that the people who flew planes into the buildings on 9/11 were disgruntled carnival workers who had an issue with US labour laws? Because if you thought that, you were wrong. There's a direct correlation with Norway getting shitter every year since about 2000. And the primary reason, in fact, let's be honest, there's no need to beat around the bush. The only reason Norway's been getting worse every year, and nay, the entirety of Western Europe's been getting worse every year, is because we imported 50 million hairy-ass men from the worst countries on planet Earth. Easy. I mean, do we need to read the rest of this story? Do you want me to finish it? I'll blast through it as quick as I can. The blast caused minor damage and police are looking for one or more suspects. There were no casualties. There was already increased security around the US Embassy and elsewhere in Oslo, but police are now ramping up their presence even more, Larson said. Imagine being a copper out there. I bet it was a mint job in the 80s. The average year, you wouldn't even respond to one violent crime, would it? The worst thing you'd have to do is deal with Klaus coming home from the boozer. He's had a bit too much to drink and he, I don't know, gets mildly aggressive with his spouse because she didn't have his dinner ready or something. It'd have been the easiest job in the world. I feel sorry for him. 20 years of joyful interaction with your fellow man. And then all of a sudden you've got a few thousand Marlies throwing grenades at each other in the town centre. Nice one. The incident took place at about 1 a.m. local time in Oslo. The US Embassy deferred questions to the State Department, and dogs, drones and a helicopter are involved in the hunt for the perpetrators. Norway's Justice Minister, Astrid S. Hansen, who also oversees public security, said the incident was unacceptable. According to Norwegian Newswire, there is no indication that the situation is dangerous for outsiders, because why would explosions be dangerous? I love that wonderful Norwegian understatement there. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. No, turning a jewel of Western Europe into a cesspit is a crime against humanity. That's what that is. If you're unlucky enough to be Norwegian and you're watching this video, commiserations, you've followed the rest of the Anglosphere down the Swanee. I mean, yeah, you're not quite as bad as Canada or the UK or Ireland yet, but you'll get there, lads. You'll get there in the end if you keep voting for left-wing dickheads. All right, I think that'll do me for the day. Welcome to the channel if you're new. I've got another boost in subs thanks to Paz giving me a chuckle. I hope you enjoyed that video. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all tomorrow. In fact, no, I'll see you a bit earlier because I'm doing the stream with Paula. So, yeah, if you want to, go and watch that. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll see you all soon. All right, toodle pip. Cheers.